I'm addressing this video to the Allíi of Kauai Pa'aina. I'm a mutt from the mainland. Please forgive my pronunciation of the Hawaiian words. I'm trying my best. My name is Carrie Koch. I'm an adopted child from the United States. Before my grandmother died, she told me that I was part Comanche, Cherokee, and Blackfoot. I have had great interest in the crimes that have been committed against the Native Americans by the Democratic and Republican parties and Bar Association and criminal organizations operating with the United States military. I first got interested in the story of what happened to the Kanaka when I was researching the essential nature of the offenses that were committed against the Native Americans. And as it stands, the same organizations and their predecessor organizations and the modus operandi used against Kanaka were also used against Native American tribes and many other cultures around the world that did not have Europeanized forms of government. And I am addressing you, the Allíi, directly because you guys cannot get justice in state of Hawaii or United States courts, period. The United Nations is aware of this, and they have actually said those words in other cases. That's how corrupt the United States, Canadian, and UK court systems are, and it's because of the Bar Association and the political parties. In The Art of War, Sun Tzu said, "Do not attack your enemy's army, for that is what he has prepared for and expects you to do. You must attack his strategy." And the strategy that is currently and still being used against Kanaka is the deprivation of due process and equal protection. The United Nations on several occasions has acknowledged that in fact Kauai Pa'aina is a prolonged occupied sovereign nation. And I understand that that Kauai Pa'aina has representatives, maybe attorneys in the United Nations, and they are not issuing the application for Kauai Pa'aina to the United Nations. And that is an extremely disabling disservice and a breach of fiduciary trust on the parts of those representatives. Even if they know that they could not get accepted to the UN, it would at least start the case so the UN could tell you guys this is what needs to happen so that you can join the UN. Why do I think it's a great idea for you guys to join the UN? Because you cannot access the international courts. You are captive to the United States, and they are enforcing their laws through their courts in your lands. You cannot get a fair trial. Even if they decided we're going to allow you to sue the United States, the Democratic and Republican Party, the Bar Association, the Blue Wall of Silence, even if they were to let you guys get into that case in their courts, their agents are sitting on the bench. No Kanaka can ever get a fair trial in these United States courts, and you never will. If you try to issue criminal complaints against them, the Blue Wall of Silence will likely retaliate against you like they've done so many times before. This is why I say that only the United Nations, the ICJ and the ICC, have jurisdiction to hear these cases involving Kanaka and members of the United States. And I've thought about this very long and very hard. I have a friend, Mahina, who I hope you all know, and I've talked to her for a long time, and she and I have butted heads, but at the end of the day, she and I are correct about what has been done, and I understand that there is a whole slew of crimes that have been committed against Kanaka over the years, and all of that can be addressed, each and every case. But you're going to need access to an unbiased court to do that. As far as I can tell, the United Nations is the only place that exists. Your only other hope is to go to the grand juries of the United States. But even if they were to allow a private prosecution, you're still going to have a bar association agent sitting on the bench before it's all over. And you're not going to get a fair trial because the bar association is complicit in what has been done to you guys. And, you know, my study and focus has been in official corruption, the prosecution of sophisticated conspiracy. And, you know, I'm not a legal guru type. I try not to speak the law from my opinions or my mouth. I try to speak the law from the law itself and the rule of law, the case law of the courts. And I just feel like I am compelled to deliver this information regarding strategy and tactics to get you guys into a court where you can actually address these things, you know, in an unbiased court. You know, in the case of Larson versus Kingdom of Hawaii, and I do know the difference between the Hawaiian Kingdom and the Kingdom of Hawaii, and I do understand all of that, okay? But in that case of Larson, that was when the United Nations said, yes, in fact, Kauai Paina is a sovereign nation, and it has been occupied for a prolonged period of time. That's colonialism. That is a direct violation of Part 2, Article 7 of the Rome Statute, to speak nothing of all of the other offenses that have been committed by agents for the United States against Kauai Paina. Now, this is what I see as a potential strategy. I really want to speak with some of you directly. If you guys were to issue an application and a suit against the United States, you know, and your application to the UN, and they were to allow that, okay, they may not because you're not a member nation yet, but they may. You could also issue a suit against the United Nations to allow you to join, okay? But kind of what I see right now is that there's absolutely cause and standing against the United States. Now, here's the problem, okay? The United States is as much a victim of this scheme as Kauai Paina. How and why? 18 U.S.C. Section 641 outlaws the unlawful conversion of government property and money into instruments of crime. And that is exactly what has been done by the Democratic and Republican parties and their predecessor parties, because they used to have different names, but it's the same authoritarian organization using the same modus operandi to commit the same offenses against the United States and the victim nations they target. And so that's what has to occur, is that we have to demonstrate to the courts, in truth, the United States is not a culpable party. A usurped nation is just as defenseless as its people. Okay, in the United States, we are subjected to official crimes every day, and they shield each other from prosecution every day, and they continue doing it. They unlawfully convert government money into the financial support for violations of the Rome Statute. And the example is the Democratic and Republican Party agents who are legislators and executives unlawfully converting United States money into the financial support for Likud, who is committing genocide in Palestine. This is not only a crime against the Palestinians, it's a crime against the United States. Okay? Likud and Hamas have also violated those international laws. Okay? All of these military actions that the United States and Israel and Palestine are taking are without due process whatsoever. There is no such thing as lawful war. There is only a criminal aggressor and a victim, and that's it. And you don't take the law into your own hands and go victimize innocent people, and that's exactly what they're doing. They were knowledgeable of it. I issued a criminal complaint against UN Deputy Ambassador for the United States, Robert Woods, who is a Democrat, for obstructing a 153 vote. 153 countries that voted for a ceasefire, and he obstructed it. And people died as a result. To date, no one has contacted me to get my official statements in record, despite the fact that I did give a binding statement. So it's obvious they are shielding each other from prosecution. And this is what needs to be brought to the attention of the UN. That when political party agents are occupying federal level seats and they commit crimes from within those offices, there's a gross conflict of interest for them to go into a federal court. That's why we have federal courts, for controversies where there are conflicts of interest at the state level. It only makes sense that we use the United Nations courts because they are the only ones that are not biased. Okay? Donald Trump, when the United States, quote unquote, came under investigation for war crimes, and they had initiated an investigation from the UN to send their investigators to the United States to conduct the investigations, he revoked their visas. And that's interference in a criminal investigation under color of law. And that's a felony. All this hush money bullshit, that's a dog and pony show. They need to be prosecuting him for launching 59 Tomahawk missiles into Syria, killing 15 civilians, 4 of which were children, with no due process whatsoever. If the Democrats and Republicans, Hamas and Likud, if they have reason to believe somebody from another nation has committed a crime, they're supposed to go report it. 18 U.S.C. Section 4. Go read it. It applies to everybody, and there are no exceptions. Okay? To take the law into one's own hand and violate the law is a crime. Okay? It does not matter that someone else committed a crime against you. So I don't want to go too long with this video, but I thought very long and hard about the strategies that can be used so that you guys have access to the international courts. Okay? I could really go on for hours talking about this, and I don't want to do that. I'm really making this video as a respectful request for an audience with the Allíi. I would like you guys to hear what I have to say. I would like to hear what you have to say. I'm very aware of the internal strife with Kanaka, and that is something that we must dispel. The Kanaka must have solidarity. They must have solidarity, or we cannot demonstrate to the world that you guys really are a solidified sovereign nation. We can already say that, we can already show the United Nations has acknowledged that you are sovereign, but a law unenforced does not exist, and you guys cannot enforce the law if you are not together on everything. And I would like to help you guys set a landmark precedent for every nation and primitive culture that these organizations have committed these crimes against, because if you guys are successful in the United Nations, that means all of the North American, Native American tribes will be able to move under that precedent, all of the South American, all the Australian, all the African, because they have victimized all of these nations and all of these peoples. We just need one case to show that statutes of limitation on these matters are arbitrary, without due process, and they are void. And any member of any of these nations can come forward and privately prosecute these matters in the international courts on behalf of their nation. So, I'm going to leave it at that, and I would really look forward to speaking with the Allíi, and I hope you guys are having a good day, all things considered, and I look forward to hearing from you. Much love.